From now on, we want to actually implement or apply the ideas we have already had in some types of essay. The first type of essay is a process analysis essay. Actually, this type of essay abounds in popular media where you look actually to find advice on how to lose weight, style your hair, I don't know, invest your money or buy a car or clean a house or do research, I'm sorry, or improve your interview skills or be successful student. Okay, so these are uh, the types of essays we might encounter. So actually, there are two broad categories for process analysis types of essay or compositions. So some of them are directive process analysis, and the others are informative process analysis. So, do you have any idea about these two types? What is the difference between directive process analysis or informative?
Mm.
Okay, so
I think
mhm,
uh, I think we can use a transition in one way, and in direct one, we should choose the exact sentence of the I don't know of the speaker,
mhm,
but in another way, we should say it myself in our words,
good.
in our own words.
Can I say?
Yeah.
I guess directive process analysis means actually tells us how to do something step by
Mhm.
for completing works, but informative tells us how something works, I guess,
Um,
and shows us how to present the
mhm.
information.
Actually, in directive one, as you said, it explains how to do something. Okay, it assumes that you know a process that your reader doesn't know, and you explain how to do this thing in a step-by-step manner so that your reader could do it. This is directive. You just give direction. Okay. And examples are how to wash a car, how to build, uh, I don't know, uh, a toy paper, okay, a paper plane, let's say, a paper plane, or how to bake a cake. So this is a process analysis, and it is a kind of directive. And that is why another name for this type of process analysis is how to essay. And in informative process analysis, the writer explains how something is done rather than how to do it. How something is done. It is informative. It just gives information without expecting that the reader will actually go out and do the things herself or himself. Okay, this is the difference between directive and informative. For example, if we say how atoms split, so we don't go and split the atoms, okay? We are not the scientists, so uh, that is why uh, we call it informative, okay? Or how lions hunt, so it gives some information how something is done by lions, not by us. Or uh, for example, what else? Mm, For example, how traits are passed on from parents to children. Okay, so uh, the scientists will answer these types of questions. But let's see what is process analysis. Actually, uh, mm, Another name for this type of essay is a process essay. But I prefer to use process analysis because process is a step-by-step movement from beginning point to end point. But when we say analysis, this movement is a careful examination, a close and detailed look at something. And that is why process analysis writing involves writing to give instruction on how to do something or to describe how something is done. Okay? But before studying this part, I just call your attention to the difference between process and procedure. Let's see what is the difference. Mashid, read this part. Then Zainab. Then we will have
What is that?
Mehran to read. Okay, Mashid, go on, please. A process.
What is the difference? A process is a series of actions or steps taken in order to achieve a particular end. A procedure is a specified way to carry out an activity or a process. This set of definitions helps me get an understanding that a process is about what we do and a procedure is about how we do
How we
something.
do it, what we do, and how we do what we do. This is a procedure. Procedure means how we do what we do, but the process is what we do. Okay? This is the difference. Go on. A process
What is
analysis.
what Process analysis is a method of paragraph or essay development by which a writer explains step by step how something is done or how to do something. The writer breaks down the process into steps and describes them in detail in order to inform or persuade the reader about that process. Process analysis may be used to describe a simple process such as how to bake a cake or change the oil in a car,
Mhm.
or it may be used it to describe a complex process such as how a scientist conducts an experiment or how Congress passes a law.
Okay. How something is done. So it is informative. But the previous one, how to bake a cake, is directive. So kinds of process analysis. Go on.
Process writing can take one of two forms depending on the topic. Information about how something works, informative, an explanation of how to do something, directive. An informative process analysis is usually written in the third person point of view. A directive process analysis is usually written in the second
So
person.
this is very
In both
important point. So when you are actually reading the prompt, you should actually recognize whether it is informative process analysis or directive process analysis. If it is informative process analysis, so the point of view is in third person. Otherwise, if it is directive process analysis, we try to write in the second person. So this is very important. Go on, please.
in both forms, the steps are typically organized in chronological order, that
Mhm.
is, the order in which the steps are carried
In
out.
order of time.
Yeah.
Okay. So
There are two kinds of
go on.
There are two kinds of processes. The first is simply how to do something, instructions. A description of such a process could be a recipe that tells us how to cook something, a computer manual that tells us how to execute a task on a computer. The Internal Revenue Service
IRS,
instructions that
Internal Revenue Service instructions.
tell us how to prepare our taxes. Well, sort of, and so forth. Scientists and engineers will tell you of another kind of process description, how something works. For example, how does a car engine work, or a telescope, or even photosynthesis.
Photosynthesis work. Okay. Well, Uh, Here we are going to talk about the characteristics of the process analysis writing. Thank you, Mashid. Let's ask Mehran.
Yes, sir.
Go on, please, Mehran.
Characteristics of process analysis writing. The chronological order of described events. Description of repeated steps to follow. If the steps described are repeated, the same outcome should always be achieved. Fixed order, clarity of narration, and the presence of transition words.
Clarity of the narration, because it's a task. If you do not clarify the steps, so uh, the conclusion will be something different. So this is very important to know how to do the procedure or the process. Okay, and um, the third chapter of your thesis, you have to see what is the design and the procedure, how you are going to do what you are going to do, how to do what to do. Well, so clarity is very important. How to use the transitions. Go on, please. One of the most important
Um,
purposes.
one One of the most important purposes of this whole assignment is your ability to look at the process critically or analyze, and to divide the whole thing into several
Steps,
concrete steps.
concrete steps, concrete because it is observable, it is measurable, we can understand it clearly. Have at least three steps when you are writing. Obviously, the more complex the process, the more steps you will have. Each step should be easy to visualize as you explain it to the reader. Okay? So, when you are, imagine if I ask you to make a paper plane. So, what is the first step? I will ask you to hold your paper lengthwise. Okay? Lengthwise. I'm sorry, lengthwise. So, if I do not ask you to do this, so what happens? You will might fold the paper in different directions. So the concluding, um, uh, I mean, the results will be something different. So go on, please.
Each step should be easy to visualize as you explain it to the reader, and each step must be distinct and different from the previous step.
Very good.
And write one whole paragraph to explain each step. When a new paragraph begins, the reader of your paper should correctly assume that a new step in the process is also beginning.
زنده باشین. ببینید اینا همش تسکه. عین نرده های پلکان هسته. شما تا پات روی در از اون پله اول نذاری نمیتونی یهو پاتو بذاری رو پله پنجم. باید دونه دونه این اتفاق بیفته و هر مرحله وابسته به مرحله قبل هستش و اگر مرحله قبل رو درست انجام نداده باشین به مرحله بعد نمیرسین. اگر مثلا بخوای کیک بپزی و همه کارات انجام بدی و بعد آخر سر یادت بیفته که اصلا گاز رو روشن نکردی، یعنی کل پروسس رو اشتباه رفتی و همه چیز باید با دقت و در جای خودش و قابل درک و فهم باشه. Okay, go on please. Graphic organizers,
Graphic
yeah,
or process analysis essay outline. The structure of process essay is similar to any other assignment, meaning that it comprises of instruction, main paragraphs, and a conclusion. You need to create an outline to ease the procedure of writing process essay. The number of paragraphs in a process essay depends on how you organize your information. Some essays are very simple and have only 3 paragraphs, an introduction, a long body paragraph, and a conclusion. Other essays may have 2, 3, or even more body paragraphs.
very good. Look at this one. This is a of the first organizer, we have the introductory paragraph, and the last sentence in the introductory paragraph is a thesis statement. Then we have long body paragraph, and all the steps in the correct chronological order comes from the first step to the last steps in this long body paragraph, and then we have concluding paragraph, and this actually concludes the essay. This is one way to write a process analysis. Sometimes we have introductory paragraph and the thesis statement, then one body paragraph, and we add the components, tools, and equipments, and then we try to describe the process step by step, and we move from first step to the next, to the next, to the final step. And then we have the concluding paragraph. This is another way to write the process analysis. So sometimes we have more than three body paragraphs. Again, as you see, like the previous ones, we have introductory paragraph, and the thesis statement is the last sentence in the introductory paragraph, and that is the point you make. Then we have the body paragraphs, and we include components, tools, and equipments, or the first part of the process comes here. Then we move to the second body paragraph. The first or the next body step of the process comes in this body paragraph, and then the next step of the process comes in the third. And if we have more process, more steps of the process, we will write three, four, five, six, as many as possible. Then we come to the last one, which is the concluding paragraph. Look at this actually uh, graph. So what does it show? A reactor core, steam generator, turbines, generator, cooling towers, cold water pump, fuel rods. So it shows that it is a plant. So let's see how does it work. Japan's nuclear crisis. بحران هسته‌ای که خود ژاپن اتفاق افتاد. بر اساس همین ببینیم چجوری داره توضیح میده. ما داریم در مورد بحران هسته‌ای ژاپن میخوایم صحبت بکنیم و بعد در اینجا نشون میدیم که چگونه یعنی یک نوع informative process analysis هستش، چگونه یک پاور پلانت داره کار میکنه. خب خیلی ممنون مهران. از بقیه دوستان خانم اکبری، نسرین.
Hi, Professor.
Hello. Would you please start reading this part?
Sure. Japan's nuclear crisis. Nuclear power is often used to generate electricity for 21st century needs.
Okay.
It is
This
produced.
is the first sentence in introduction paragraph. Introduction paragraph actually starts with the attention grabber. It starts with a general statement, which is somehow interesting. Nuclear power. We are going to talk about the nuclear power, Japan's nuclear crisis. So nuclear power is often used to generate electricity for 21st century needs. So this is somehow uh, attention grabber. It hooks the reader. It is something interesting. So the reader wants to see, okay, so what? Then we want to narrow it down. We want to create a background information in order to come to our last part, which is the thesis statement. Go on. It is produced
It is produced for this purpose by commercial nuclear reactors in nuclear power plants. In general, these reactors are reliable and efficient. Still, dangerous accidents or other serious problems can occur.
Okay.
So,
As
nuclear
you see,
reactors,
we are using some transitional words to show how smoothly we move from one sentence to another sentence, and we show that how the sentences are related. So this contributes to the coherence of the passage. Okay, what does coherence mean? In order to define the coherence, I say fire, house, dog. I just define the coherence by this coherence. So if I come to the class and say fire, house, or dog, what do you understand? You might say that uh, the house is on fire and the dog is inside the house, or you might say that the dog's house is on fire. You might think of other things. So this is somehow ambiguous. This is vague. There is no coherence. Coherence means I show the logical connection between the sentences, from one sentence to another sentence, from the preceding to the following sentence. We move smoothly from one sentence to another. So sometimes we use transitions, sometimes we use parallel structures, sometimes we repeat the main keywords. So we started with the general statement, we try to narrow it down and create background information and then move from this part to the point we want to say. Nuclear power is often used to generate electricity for 21st century. It is produced for this purpose by commercial nuclear reactors and nuclear power plants. In general, these reactors are reliable and efficient. So far, everything sounds plausible. Still, dangerous accidents or other serious problems can occur. So, nuclear reactors must be built to withstand everything from hurricanes to terrorist attacks. So, we try to create background information and actually say why it is used as one of the ways of generating electricity. Okay? Unfortunately, these safety measures are not always adequate. Shortly after an earthquake hit Japan on March 11, 2011, a chain of events led to explosions at Fukushima Daiichi nuclear plant. So far we specify, and now we want to make our argument. What is our argument? What is our thesis? What is the point we want to make to understand how the accident at Fukushima happened? How it happened? It is necessary to understand how a nuclear reactor is constructed and operates. So this is the thesis statement. It shows that a kind of process analysis, how, how, how it works, how it operates, how the accident happened. Okay, so the nature of this essay is process analysis essay. The first paragraph. A nuclear reactor produces energy through a nuclear reaction called fission or splitting of atoms. This is the topic sentence. Nuclear reactor produces energy. Okay. You say how it produces. You say your stance, how it works. So, through a nuclear reaction called splitting atoms. Now you can verify this by adding some examples or verifications or elaborations. Let's say in order to elaborate our paragraph, we need to use different techniques. Let's see what are these techniques. Reactors generally use uranium atoms for the fission process. So we talked about fission or splitting of atom, but how it works. Reactors generally use uranium for this process. How? First, a small piece of uranium are combined in metal tubes known as fuel rods. If you just look at this diagram, you will see the fuel rods are here. So the fuel rods is here. Okay? Then we have the reactor core, the steam generator. I do apologize, I have a call. Let me just mute this one. So just look at this picture. Steam generator, heat water, steam turbines, generator, cooling tower, cold water pump, and then fuel rods and control rods, reactor core. This is the core of the nuclear plant. And now, with those ideas, we will come back here. A small piece of uranium are combined in metal tubes known as fuel rods. Many bundles of fuel rods from a reactor core, okay? Many bundles of the fuel rods form the reactor's core. As fission occurs, the uranium atoms in the fuel rods are split and energy in the forms of the heat is generated. So this is the end of the first paragraph, but it is not I shape. Okay, it's T shape because it is related to the other part. In this is the second one. However, we use a transition, and this signaling word just helps us to move from the first paragraph to the next paragraph without any pause. We move smoothly from the first paragraph to the next paragraph. However, too much heat can be dangerous. To regulate the heat generated by the reactor, fuel rods are interspersed with control rods. They are made of materials such as boron, which slow nuclear reactions. Which slows nuclear reactions. When the control rods are pushed into the reactor core, fission slows and the reactor cools. When the control rods are pulled out, fission speeds up and the reactor produces more heat. So how it is done? It is quite informative process analysis. How it is done. Well, let's move to next one. This is the second body paragraph, the third body paragraph. The heat from the reactor is then, again, we are using then, next, finally. So these are showing how the things are done chronologically in order of time. What happens first? The heat from the reactor is then channeled to a container of water called steam generator. And a steam generator, so steam generator is the last word in the first sentence, which shows the heat from the reactor is channeled to the container of water called steam generator. So this is the topic sentence of this paragraph. So what happens? In a steam generator, heat is used to boil water and produce steam. So what? Next, what happens? The steam turns the turbine, which powers the generator that creates electricity. Okay, what happens next? Finally, the water is circulated through the system with electric pumps to cool the reactor core. This cooling process is important because if the fuel rods get too hot, the fuel can melt. A meltdown can destroy the walls of the reactor. It can allow nuclear reaction to escape and poison the surrounding area. Let me move to the next page. Okay. When the earthquake hit Fukushima, so this is the answer to the second question. What happened? How the accident happened? We learned how the nuclear power works. And now let's see how it occurred. When the earthquake hit the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant in Japan, there were many systems in place to prevent this kind of disaster. First, the reactor's control rods were fully inserted into the reactor core. This procedure automatically shut down the reactor. The shutdown helped to cool the reactor core, but of course, it also made the nuclear power plant stop producing power. With no power, the electric pumps in the cooling system could not function as a result. The core soon heated up again. So, you see how it works. Once the plant itself Once the plant itself stopped producing power, it began to draw power from the nation's power grid to run the pumps. وقتی که کل کارخونه از کار افتاد و نتونست جریان الکتریسیته تولید کنه، پمپایی که خنک کننده بودن اون از کار افتادن. وقتی که این اتفاق بیفته، باز کور به خاطر گرمای بیش از حدش ممکنه باعث انفجار بشه. بنابراین باید از شبکه برق بگیره که اون پمپا رو مجددا راه بندازه. Other power plants around the country, nuclear and non-nuclear, were still producing electricity. So far, so good. Unfortunately, this shows that something bad happened. The earthquake, so this is a signaling word, this contributes to the coherence and it tells us how smoothly we move from one sentence to another. The earthquake had also damaged the power grid. So it too soon stopped providing power to Fukushima Daiichi pumps. At this point, there was still one more safety system that could prevent meltdown: backup diesel generators. So, in the power plant, there were some backup diesel generators. These machines use diesel fuel instead of nuclear power to make electricity. The diesel generators had started to make electricity to run the plant's cooling pumps when another disaster occurred. So, disaster after another disaster. Fukushima Daiichi was hit with a tsunami, okay? Or tsunami, or giant wave. When you see or, it shows that we are conjoining two grammatically identical units. So a noun, a tsunami, and a giant wave. So these are roughly synonymous. Caused by the earthquake. The tsunami flooded the generators. This left only batteries to operate. You see, there is the secondary backup and the batteries to operate the pumps. These lasted for just a few hours before they ran out of power. You see how it works? After the batteries died, the pumps failed one and for all. They could no longer circulate water to cool the reactor. As a result, the water started boiling away, exposing the top of the fuel rods. Then the metal tubes holding the uranium fuel overheated and split. The cracks allowed the remaining water to enter the tubes and interact with the fuel. So the water plus the fuel. This interaction began generating hydrogen gas. Hydrogen accumulated so quickly that it exploded inside the reactor building. To prevent disaster, operators decided to destroy the reactor in a flood of seawater mixed with boron. The seawater reduced the reactor's temperature while the boron stopped the process of the nuclear fusion. A meltdown was prevented. So this way they prevented this disaster, but uh, it was actually a dangerous process. As these events show, you see, this is a very lengthy academic paragraph. So, in academic writing, we do not expect to write a 4 paragraph essay or 5 paragraph essay. You see, we can actually extend the number of the body paragraphs, and this depends on the ideas you put in your thesis statement. As the as these events show, nuclear power is a resource with great potential, but in some circumstances it still can have serious risks. Prior to earthquake and tsunami, Japan had planned to increase its use of nuclear power. It is now unlikely that a large increase can happen. It is also unclear how much of the country's nuclear infrastructure will be rebuilt, and it is still unknown whether the Japanese people are open to continued reliance on nuclear fuel. So, as you say, it's still unknown, it's still unclear, it now unlikely. So, these words just signal that uh, they're just warning. This is a kind of prediction and warning, okay? Suggests to take an action, a future action. So this way we can conclude our uh, body paragraph. So this way we can write our process analysis or um, have 2 essays. Chronological signal words or phrases. Mahdi Rezai, will you please help me to read this part? Mahdi? Okay, مهدی محمد جعفریان. Well, do you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Very good. I think these 2 Mahdis uh, are not in the class. I have no idea. Okay. Shadi, will you please start reading this part?
Sir, I'm here.
Okay.
I've lost my headphone. I didn't find
Okay,
where
I
I
was
had
just
to
waiting for you.
connect it.
Mahdi, go on.
Okay, yes. As chronological signal words or phrases. Suggested transition words to lead readers through your essay. Process
Mahdi
essays are
Rezai,
generally
will you please
organized.
mute your mic? Thank you. Go on, Mahdi.
organized according to time. That is, they begin with the first step in the process and proceed in time until the last step in the process. It's natural, then, that transition words indicate that one step has been completed and a new one will begin. Some common transitional words used in process essays are listed below.
Okay, let's see what are these signaling words.
Yeah.
Mahdi Rezai, will you please mute your mic? Thank you. Go on.
Okay, shall I go
Yeah,
on?
Professor, I got disconnected because of that.
no
And
problem, no problem. Go on.
Okay, time. After a few hours, immediately following. Afterwards, initially. At least, at last, in the end. At the same time, in the future. Before, in the meantime. Before this, in the
They're
meanwhile.
not roughly synonymous. These are different time
I'm just
expressions. Okay,
repeat you.
after a few hours, afterwards, at last, at the same
Okay, I
time,
will come.
before this, currently, during, eventually, finally, first, second, third. First of all, formerly, immediately before, immediately following, initially, in the end, in the future, in the meantime, in the meanwhile, last but not least, lastly, later, meanwhile, next, soon after, previously, simultaneously, subsequently, and then. These are transitional words for time. So if you want to show everything in a chronological order, you can just use these connectors. Here are some important transitional words you might need to use as you take the reader through the forward journey of explaining your process. At the start of the process, you can just use at first in the beginning as you start to begin with the first step when you begin. So these signaling words can contribute to the coherence of your writing. So it's very important to consciously and carefully actually use them in your writing. In the middle of the process, you can just use next. After that, continuing with the next step is when this step is finished, as you continue, and finally at or near the end of the process, you can just use these transitional verbs. Finally, as you finish toward the end and the last step. Well, this is the organization. Will you please read this part, Mahdi?
Yes. Like other essays, a process essay includes an introduction, a body, and a conclusion. What's
Like the
different about a
example we
process
had,
essay?
I read the introduction paragraph, and the thesis statement was the last part of the introduction. Then we had the concluding paragraph. The concluding paragraph or conclusion had some message, and that message was in the form of the warning or prediction or taking future actions or suggestion for taking future actions. Okay, go on.
What's different about a process essay is that it's usually organized into steps. You must discuss the steps in your process in the order in which they occur. Otherwise, readers will be confused.
Yes, go on.
It's usually it's usually a good idea to figure out what steps you want to include as soon as you decide on your
Okay,
topic.
this is a
Then
part.
you'll
This
be
is a part of the brainstorming. This is a part of the pre-writing. You have to organize your ideas and see what you are going to include in your writing. Okay, then you will be prepared to.
then you'll be prepared to write your thesis statement and decide how many paragraphs to include in your essay's
Okay, so
body.
the number of the ideas you actually put in your thesis statement will determine the number of the paragraphs you want. So how you want to develop your whole essay or passage. So, uh, last session and previous sessions, we talked about the thesis statement and how to write the thesis statement. You know how to write it. Okay, go on, please. Here are.
Here are the three important points to remember in organizing a process essay. Write a thesis statement that names the process and indicates time order. Discuss the steps in your process in the order in which they occur. Use chronological order signal words and phrases to indicate the time sequence.
Very good. Thesis statement for the process analysis. A thesis or a topic sentence names the processes that will be described or analyzed. Often the thesis contains an attitude or opinion about the process. Changing a tire is easy if you follow the right steps. If you follow the right steps, okay? This thesis lets you know that the process to be analyzed is changing a tire, and it gives you an opinion that it is easy if you follow the right steps. So changing tire is easy if you follow the right step. This is a very short but effective thesis statement. You don't have to be Italian to make pasta carbonara. Okay? This thesis also announces the process and indicates an opinion. Anyone can fail a class if she tries hard enough. Okay? Anyone can fail a class if she tries hard enough. What does it mean? The subject is failing a class, and the opinion is that you have to make an effort to do it. It's a good bet that the tone of this paper is going to be sarcastic. The tone is going to be sarcastic. The tone. Okay? مگه میشه آدم زحمت بکشه و بعد سختم بکشه و بعد رد شه. So sarcastic. کنایه است. Betting a dog doesn't have to be miserable experience for either party. So the topic is betting a dog, and the opinion is that it doesn't have to be unpleasant. Well, there's some exercises here. I just called your attention to some topics: how to avoid procrastination, how to learn a new language, how to keep in shape during college, how to teach or how to keep in shape during the pandemic, let's say, COVID-19 pandemic, how to teach reading to preschoolers, how to find ideas for writing a paper, how to develop self-confidence, how to succeed in college, how to lose weight without going on a diet, how to forgive people, how to learn from the mistakes in your past, and how to surprise your mother on her birthday. These are the different topics. Please take a picture from this part, or take a screenshot from this part. For the next session, I expect you to write your first assignment. Choose one of them and develop a 5 essay paragraph. How to avoid procrastination, how to learn new language, how to keep in shape during college. So it's up to you to choose one of these topics and then develop your uh, essay,
Excuse me,
process
Chef.
analysis essay. Yes, Shadi.
I have a question.
Yes, please.
I don't know. I can ask it or not.
Yes.
I want to know about the topic sentence. If I didn't make mistake, you said that we couldn't have question sentence in topic sentence.
A
Yes?
topic sentence, a good and effective topic sentence is an opinion. The question is not an opinion. The answer to a question can be an opinion. When it is in the form of the
I just
question, this is a lead in. So it's a rhetorical question. So the answer to this rhetorical question can be a good topic sentence.
according to something that I read before in BA, we were introduced with just 10 ways to state a topic sentence.
Yes.
One of them was question. I don't know, anecdote question,
Okay,
statistics,
so that question
whatever.
is not a topic sentence. That is lead in because the topic
Oh,
sentence is an opinion. It is
I
an
just want to correct
statement.
myself. Thank you.
Opinion is an
Thank
statement,
you.
not a question. Question, yeah,
Most of the time, I use a question sentence instead of a topic
so
sentence.
that
I
that
just want to
that
correct
and
me.
that is not a good way to develop your paragraph. Okay,
Okay,
you're
thank you.
welcome.
Thank you so much.
Any other point? Otherwise, I will see you next session. Thank.
I'm sorry,
Yes,
sir. I didn't hear you. You said the essay should be included with five
it,
paragraphs. Am I
it
right?
should be a 5 paragraph essay, but it
Okay.
is a process analysis essay from one of these
Okay, of
topics.
course. Okay, sure.
Write
Thank you very much,
write
sir.
your essays and actually uh, email me uh, mm, by Friday night.
Okay, sure, sir. Thank you very
You're
much.
welcome.
Sorry, should we share our
You
essays
can,
in our
yes, very good. That's a good idea. If you share your essays, you can get good comments from your classmates. That's one way to improve our
Yes,
writing.
sorry.
I highly appreciate this
Yes,
idea.
so we're gonna
Thank you so much.
good. So we're gonna share them all in that Telegram
Thank you
group.
so
Thank
much.
you.
But send me an email as well. Thank you so much. See you. Bye bye.
Have a good day,
Have
sir.
a good day.
Bye.
Bye.